So I'd like to now go over to Nawaz. And thank you, Nawaz. You've been really patient through this whole session and waited very, very patiently and courteously while we've gone through Amar Chitrakatha, consulting world, farming world. So now we're actually coming to the heart of really what storytelling is about, convincing the customer and keeping the customer happy. That's when the reality of storytelling really hits. And customer storytelling and communication, I would say, changed dramatically post COVID, and it was already becoming very digital. But the kind of communication that is happening now is far away from the call centers. You call endlessly, and famously, I remember that Friends episode when Phoebe is holding on for the customer care for hours on end, and that it's a very far cry from that sort of world. So I'd like to welcome Nawaz Mohammed, who is I'd like to welcome, sorry, Nawaz Mohammed from Unifor, and he is Director Marketing and Communications at Unifor, which is specializes in AI-based voice solutions for customer care. Welcome, Nawaz.
Thank you, Parul. Thank you so much. In fact, generally it is not a great thing to be the last speaker, but in this case, I must tell you, I had a wonderful time listening to these three great speakers, and it's a very hard act to follow, after listening to them. And it was a great session. So, in this case, I'm actually happy to be the last speaker.
Yes, it's. I think it's the right note to end on. Like I was saying, it's when the storytelling all comes true. Can you actually engage and help the customer? So my first question really is that in the world of customer service, what role is AI beginning to play? Because and especially voice-based, customer service. Because the general opinion is there are these bots which send you automated uh, messages to the point that they become sources of Twitter memes and online memes. So what is the role that is being played by voice-based digital solutions?
So, Parul, to start with, I would say voice is the new UI, and AI, if you see, that's going to be the new human assistant. So if you look at it, voice that way is the most common denominator. And Bhavna mentioned about, the farmers and all of that. I must tell you, when Unifor started, about 14, 15 years ago, we started with a thought, there was a whole technology revolution that was happening in India, especially, right? And our founders realized 70% of Indians actually were not going to be part of that tech revolution because most of the things that was there on the internet and other places were all in English, right? And many of them were not English literate, right? So because of this English literacy, a lot of people, the majority of India would actually be like, not part of this technology revolution. And they started one thing, in one of the rural areas in Tamil Nadu. A lot of these farmers, and they wanted to do banking, and banking was such a difficult thing because you have to walk kilometers and kilometers just to do one small transaction, at the bank, right? And we created a solution in, along with another bank, a rural bank. What we did was convert this entire banking into a voice based. So all they have to do is actually go to what you call a kinara shop, right? You go to a small shop near to your house, and there's a phone with that guy. All you have to do is speak to, like, dial a particular number. Everything was in voice based, including your authentication. Okay, so all of that. So they did transactions. That was the initial phase where they were starting this. It was more like a project, but then they realized when 70% of Indians not going to be part of this tech revolution, how can voice as a technology can, like, bridge that gap, bridge the gap between humans and machine, right? So if you look at in the present context, okay, to tell you what Unifor does, now that we are a global company from past 15 years ago when we did this project, world across, Parul, about 52 million hours of conversations gets recorded every single day. Okay, it's 52 million hours. So who listens to these conversations? Most of the time, they're all customer conversations, right? And people don't really, like, do much about it. And there are a lot of times people call a contact center because they have a problem. The brands have a problem. And I can give you one example. One of the favorite, brands which everybody loves, for instant noodles. I'm just not taking the name. Um, they launched they launched their new packaging and all of that, and it came into the market. All of a sudden they realized that there was a lot of calls that going back into contact centers. Okay, first of all, we don't think like somebody actually calls contact center using an instant noodles, right? For an instant noodles, we all call contact center for maybe banking and different things, because uh, everybody who has a product or in a service, they all have a contact center, and that's what we don't mostly think of. Now people started calling. There was a lot of people calling, and having issues. Many of them were not able to understand how to make this, and that's a brand that they're all used to making instant noodles. And because of a solution, because of our analytics, because of the AI and the machine learning that we have in our product, our product listens to all the conversation that happens. Okay, and these are all not structured, right? Voice is not a structured conversation. Because of that, we realized that there was actually a packaging change that happened in the recent time. And due to that, the packaging was in such a way that the instructions to make these noodles were slightly difficult to read, and it was slightly hidden. Okay, now on one side we can be the great brand, on one side we can be the fancy brand managers who creates fancy packaging, but at the same time, if we don't listen to our customers, okay, we're going to be failing. So what our product does, basically what Unifor does with all the automation and voice technology, is that we listen to all the conversations, we listen to the customer conversation, and then either help them with different solutions, or we provide analytics, or it could be something simple as like a bank. For example, when you call bank, especially when you have to lose your card, you call a bank, you want to talk to a person, but before you talk to a person, um, listening to the IVR. You have to select, and then once you get connected with, and especially during COVID, it was a huge wait, right? People have waited for half an hour to 1 hour to get on to a call with an agent in customer care. In such cases, when they after half an hour, when they speak to actually an agent, they're gonna ask, the agent is gonna ask some simple questions like, what's your mother's maiden name, and all of that, and then try to give a solution. And half the time they will put you on hold saying, okay, let me check this information. Now imagine a scenario where you have an AI based or AI assisted human agent, right? When you call a contact center, first of all, with the language that you speak, your preferred language, the IVR are going to actually authenticate who you are. So you're going to speak your language. It's going to identify your voice, and instead of asking all those different questions about your mother's maiden name and all that, it's actually going to authenticate your voice, and then actually ask a question: what's your problem? Right? And if the problem, most of the time, what you see in contact center is that problem can be solved with basic questions itself. Because a lot of times they ask for basic, information. Now that can be solved without a human agent, and that's again a cost saving for the people. And from there, when you go into actually agent, and that agent can actually help you in no time, because everything that you're talking is actually gets transcribed. And also the AI part of the contact center is like actually giving information why this person is calling, why this person has called in the past. So all of that, so your conversation that would otherwise be 10 minutes or 15 minutes, now it's going to be about 2 minutes. So that's how we started actually, when it comes to Uniphone and our technology, the voice based technology. But today we are one of the global leaders in voice based technology and the contact center, and transforming the whole $350 billion customer service industry. Now that's just a context that I wanted to give, so that the audience also understand why am I talking about the AI and all of that. So just to speak to about AI. Actually, if you look at AI, one of the questions that generally gets asked is that will AI replace humans? That's never going to happen. I can tell you, AI is never going to replace human, but AI assisted humans is what the future of customer service or future of most of the things that's going to be, because very soon the voice technology is already there actually in the developing countries, that developed countries, that you're going to talk to your home appliance, right? You're going to talk to your ACs, you're going to talk to your microwave. Right now probably we are talking to a remote and giving instructions, right? And look at the beauty of it. Like one side I said, even if you are not English literate, you can speak to it. And also in our just to add to our technology, that you can actually converse with our technology in your own language. Okay, it's your own language, your own dialect. Okay, but at the same time, it's a very hard technology. It's constantly evolving, because if you look at it, Parul, as human beings, we haven't figured out what conversation is actually. Now, imagining explaining this conversation with all the nuance and the language and the dialects to a machine, right? So, but at the same time, I'm telling you, the future is all about voice technology. So, it's going to play a big role. AI is a 3 trillion, industry by 2024. So you can imagine we're going to be talking to every machine out there.
That's really fascinating, and if you look at it, it's the ultimate micro storytelling between a brand and a customer in their language, in their dialect, customized to them, to their needs, their device. Everything is hyper customized and micro. So, flowing from what you said, Nawaz, you are present in 13 markets. Now, let's talk about the communication of the voice-based technology across all these markets. So, what are the specific challenges given the complexity of AI-based communication and what you said that nobody's really cracked what a conversation is like. It's way too nuanced and personalized. So, what are the challenges of communicating in across these 13 markets for you?
I think one of the main challenge, when it's communication, like, especially when we are, when we are present in different city or different countries, one of the main challenges, localizing. Okay, it's not about taking our product to different market, and like I said, the language that way is very cultural driven, right? We don't speak a language because, for example, just because you're born in a particular family, doesn't mean that you have, I mean, you can speak that language, right? For example, the other way of saying that would be like, for example, a Chinese person, okay, a Chinese man or woman, born in, say, in Uttar Pradesh, okay, brought up in Uttar Pradesh, and that person can actually probably speak that Hindi as fluently as anyone. Just because you're born actually to a particular family doesn't mean you speak only that particular language, right? It's a very culture driven language. So it's the same challenge that we have when it comes to communication. When you go to when you take your product and communication to another country, they're not they you're not welcome that way. If it is not localized, you're not welcome. So everything they're going to see is like, what it means to them. How does it work for them? The other part of this whole communication would be humanizing. How do you humanize this communication? Now, I can give you an example of Japan as a market. We were doing a customer presentation, and we had this fantastic video. Everybody appreciated that video everywhere. Now we are going to a market like Japan, where they want everything in Japanese, right? They're not going to appreciate your English video. So it's not, we went to an extent where we had actually a customer story, which was a real named customer, and then we had another story which was more of like a use case, which is very Japan specific. But trust me, everything that was appreciated was about this use case in Japan, and that was not a real case study. That was just a projected one. What it can do, but they were happy about that than listening to a US customer talk about how it actually worked for them. Can you imagine? That's the real story, right? If somebody is actually a CEO saying, what, I use this product and this is what I did in US and it worked fantastic, and that person is like one of the top banks in US. But whereas when we are showing them a projected use case in Japanese, a Japanese example, they were only interested in that. So localizing and humanizing communication is what I feel. And Abhishek, I think somewhere mentioned that brand needs to be human, right? So same way, actually, your content needs to be human too. So I would say localizing and humanizing is what is the biggest challenge when we have when we have to talk to our customers there.
The feeling would be, Nawaz, that it's perhaps not so difficult to communicate about the product internally to internal stakeholders, and it's much harder to do it with external stakeholders. You just mentioned the example of a Japan-based use case where they definitely wanted it in their language, and that was what was preferred. So, what are the challenges of communicating a technology which also you have to educate much more than normal about this technology? So what are the challenges of that when you're engaging with the external stakeholders?
So, so one of the thing, especially, what taught us, during this COVID is that more than, focusing on like messaging, I think we started addressing actually the feelings of people, I would say that. Okay. The second thing was over communicating, we actually over communicated because COVID, that's what we realized, over communication is required and that worked for us. I'm giving some of these, I'm giving some of these statements. They are actually something that worked for us in the past 1.5 years of COVID. So when we were started talking to our external customers or even our internal, our main thing was like primarily it was all about value communication. We weren't talking about our product. We weren't really talking about our technology past 1.5 year. We were primarily talking about our instead of product and services, we were actually talking about technology. Most of the time it was about why we exist. I think that's some of one thing that even Preeti mentioned, that why do they exist, what was the vision. And even in Unifor, even for our technology, we still talk about why do we exist here. So the whole purpose communication is very important, and I think that's what we've been doing. Like, if I have to give you an example, the whole purpose communication, right? If you go back to Mahabharata, right, where Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna why this war is required, why this battle, right? Why are you going to fight? Actually, why are you going to fight your own people? And that becomes the whole discourse of Bhagavad Gita, and that's the real purpose communication. So far you have that purpose intact in an organization. It's very easy to communicate that purpose to your external stakeholders or your internal stakeholders. And all the core of our communication, if you see, it's never the product. It's just the technology, but also the technology for the industry. So like I said, it's the purpose that we still hold on to, and it becomes very easy for us to communicate. So I can just tell you a couple of examples of like this what we did. Like, for example, for an internal audience, when this whole COVID happened, we started working from home. There was a lot of fear, right? There was anxiety. Are people going to lose jobs and all of that? So that's why I said we stopped, creating all this fancy messaging, but we started addressing the feelings of people. So in terms of internal employees, we started having, every month we started having our town halls instead of once in 3 months. Okay. And I'm telling you, one of the other initiatives that we have done is that we identified all the leaders, about 50 of the leaders, and we actually made a list of, employees, mixed it up in terms of, team. We actually gave them the phone numbers and employees' name, and we told our leaders, you got to call them. On a Friday, you're going to actually, your first job is take the list and just dial each of these, your employees, about 50 of them, call them and ask, how are they? How's their family? Say everything is fine. We actually made our leaders do that. Can you imagine? Our leaders were actually making calls like telecalling, right? Over a period of time, they made sure that we cover the entire, universe of our employees. Right. Of course, we don't have a very large base, but still, we made it a point, and that's walking the talk, right? On one side you are holding like town hall and you're talking about, okay, how we care for you, but on the other side, for the next one whole month, you're actually showing everything you spoke. You're actually showing them how it is done actually. So then your next employee meet, we are actually saying what we did, and we are adding to it. And when we said like, we care for you, we care for your family, and on this, and then when we realized, oh, this whole COVID is not going to go anytime soon, and it's the impact is really bad, we actually changed the whole insurance scheme. We actually upgraded everyone to insurance scheme. We even extended it to their extended families. Now again, walking the talk, right? On one side we are saying we care, and then we are showing how we care. And we did the same thing for our customers. Like I said, our purpose, right? Our purpose and our value is, if you see, Unifor value is people first, and people, when we say, is employees and customers. Then we went to our customers again. I said, like, we were addressing the feelings and not just our fancy messaging. When we went to a customer, when we said, how can we help you? Forget everything. How can we help you? Right now, I know you are in need. Your customers are struggling. Your employees are struggling. You are not able to go to contact center, right? Just imagine a situation, Parul. The whole concept of contact center is going to a particular center and, taking calls. And COVID just destroyed that. They never imagined that contact center people would actually work from home. That's something nobody imagined. Now, you are in that kind of a situation. What could we do? Now this entire technology that we have, actually we could do all of this, like I said, voice authentication to everything, and in a remote situation it could work. And we told our customer, here is a quick package for you, forget about everything, like we were all talking to them about like large $1 million of deal and all of that was going on when we were hit by COVID. We said all those large deals and $1 million can wait. How can we help you? Can we help you right now in 2 weeks? What can we do? And we did that. Again, I'm saying like walking the talk, right, with the customer. So these are some of the things. So I would say one, what helped us was purpose communication and over communicating that. And we focused on more than messaging. We focused on the addressing, the feeling part, and we walked the talk. So that's what helped in our both internal comms as well as our external comms for us. And just to add to it, Parul, these were, some of them were actually a sort of case studies. We won awards across geographies. We won awards in India, in Singapore Business Review. We won in US, in multiple regions. Actually, we won for the kind of things that we did for our customers as well as for our employees. And also, thankfully, we grew also. We grew more than 300%. You know.
It's great to see the real life impact of that, because you're hiring on people
Yep.
wanting to join your company went up as a result of this communication. Coming back to the technology itself, and the communication around the technology, who are the end users of this technology in terms of what sectors of B2B sectors are your B2B sectors is, who are your enterprise clients really, and who are taking up, what are the sectors really?
The primary sector, I would say, the BFSI sector, that is banking, financial services, and insurance. You have airlines. There are also large BPOs. I would say, like, anybody who has contact center can use our technology. Now, I can also tell you, like, conversation AI and automation that we have. It is not limited to what we do right now. What we do right now is primarily for the contact center and these sectors, but it can be even for communicators like you and I, right? It can be for PR professionals. Now, if you look at it, right now we don't have this product. Of course, there could be products in the market, when it comes to conversation AI. But think about, our regular PR, right? When we sat in the agencies and we looked at newspaper and we marked, okay, for each of our client, what what media is talking about the client. Then of course, when it comes to internet, it was slightly easier. There were a lot of listening tools and social media listening tools. But ever imagine what happens to all the conversation that happens over broadcast, all the podcasts that where people have spoken, all the news channels that things have been spoken. What happens to all of those communication? Are you tracking that really for your clients? Probably not, right? But conversational AI can actually do all of that. It can listen to everything. Like when I said, uh, it's about 52 million hours of data that gets generated just in contact centers, and our product, what it can do is basically it can listen to it. Okay, now humanly it is not possible, right? There are certain things that AI can do, which is humanly not possible. Listening to so many hours of calls, like you probably need that many number of people, but AI based technology can listen to it. Now, even for communicators, actually they can listen to all that is being spoken about their clients or about their organization. So that's another use case which is like definitely there. But we primarily work in BFSI and all the large contact center base, because that's where our focus is right now. But we are also evolving in, we are getting into different things. In the future you will see that the AI is being used everywhere, and AI is there in everything that we're going to do. Like when the new set of home appliances that's coming with internet based ones, the what you call internet of things, they're all going to be based, and you're going to be talking to every appliance at home.
That's it. Actually, yeah, you're right. It didn't really occur to me. That's also a form of customer interaction, because when you talking to your devices, it doesn't automatically, you don't automatically think of that, but that's what it is.
And the best part of that is, Parul, so when you're actually talking to your appliance, okay, that conversation also gets recorded for the brand. Okay, so the brand knows what kind of a conversation you're having with your appliance, and when the appliance is not working or it's not going to work, actually they will know that, okay, it's going to conk off anytime, and they can actually give you a solution before actually it creates a problem. Before you actually reach out to the brand is going to reach out to you and say, you know what, your appliance is going to go bad in, like, say, in 1 week's time. Can we come and do service to you? We're going to be there. So that's what AI is going to do.
That's really interesting. But one final question was around that. There are, of course, data implications because, like you said, there's millions and millions of hours of recording. So, what would you say are the trends towards safety of that data
So if
across all industries?
So if you look at it, in the past, like, the best example would be in the past, when the contact centers were, in a particular environment where, if you see, the agents were not allowed to take the phones and all of that, right? And that's how they protected, in different ways. But with the whole thing going into work from home mode, imagine a situation where, you're taking a call. If I am a contact center agent, I'm actually taking a call here, and chances are that somebody else is listening to this conversation, right? And you're gonna take some sensitive information, right? So that's where I said a product like ours, where we have the voice authentication, the voice assistant, and the voice analytics. In this case, say voice authentication, right? And at the same time, it's gonna hide those information, so the agent will never hear those numbers, but the computer is actually verifying that, right? So that you don't hear and you make a note of it, right? So, but at the same time, I am talking, like, to the agent. For me, I'm actually giving this certain information to agent about, my mother's maiden name or all that. But actually, to the agent, the computer is hiding it, and computer is actually authenticating so that he can give the rest of the information. So those are the things that's possible, and therefore we could do this work from home scenario with the, a technology like ours. Right. And also, there are a lot of compliance around it. I mean, of course, it's a very technical topic, but I can just tell you that all of these are embedded in the technology, and that's where AI comes into place. Like I said, it's slightly smarter than human at times. Okay, though I would always say that humans are, like, way smarter than AI. But in some situations, if you put AI versus human, AI will always, outsmart you. So these are the situations where AI is outsmart you.
I think when it comes to following processes, AI would probably be more reliable. Human creativity does take care of processes in a different way. So
Absolutely.
that's the case. And one final question, Nawaz, before we open it up for questions. Through COVID, what have you observed about the rise of voice-based communication, customer service, product like yours? What have you observed in how customers are reacting to a solution like this?
I think, like I mentioned in the very beginning, Parul, most of the very first time when, the COVID hit all of us, people were panicking for different reasons, especially insurance, and all of these guys started getting a lot of contact, calls, and we couldn't go to the banks, and people started calling, customer care, and a lot of time, and there is a joke, in Unico that we always have that, the generally our target audience used to be, our CEOs and, all the C level. Okay, who made the decision? Who takes the decision? The majority. And we in fact, we did a poll on LinkedIn. Who took the digital transformation, decision in 2020, and majority of them, actually answered saying COVID. Okay, so COVID actually made, made take these decisions, for a lot of people. And I can tell you that a lot of our customers who were talking to us just before COVID, they actually quickly came to us saying, like, let's speed up this process, and let's, get onto it, because they knew that this is going to happen. And that's what we saw. Adoption of voice technology was very high, and I wouldn't say, like, thanks to COVID, but I'm saying because of this whole situation, people realized the value of voice-based technology a lot more than they did in the past. And as a result, also, we also, as a company, acquired a lot of top customers, from Fortune 500 to Fortune 50 to, large BPOs, where our customers, during this time, and things became faster because, decision making was also part of, the situation also, like, led to this decision making. So the adoption was really fast. That's what I can say. It was high adoption rate for voice-based technology during this time.
Thank you, Nawaz. We've come to the end of your session and this 2 hours of fascinating conversation. I'm going to open the floor up for questions and also launch the poll about the major takeaways from the session. It's been a really, really exciting and interesting session, and so here we go. Please share your inputs on what are the major takeaways from this session. In the meanwhile, we'll open it up for questions. Anybody who has questions, please ask. Nawaz, I was also, before we take questions, I was curious that do you think in the future some kind of studies will be done to look at complaint escalation rates, or how complaints are resolved in voice-based services versus, the traditional contact center combination of calls, booking a complaint process? Are these studies already happening, or will they happen?
No, it's already happening. If you look at, in the recent studies from Gartner, there was a report from Forrester, there was a report from Opus Research. All of them were talking about, like, how this whole customer service is transforming because of voice based and the resolution. Like, and in fact, we also have so many case studies where we show it to our customers, like how many millions of dollars they save in a year because of the technology that we have, because they're reducing the whole time that is required. So when you make a call to a contact center, basically, Parul, is a cost. Actually, it's a cost incurred for that brand, right? So that way, if you look at all the reports, even the recent studies that has come from different analysts, all of them suggest that this is the future, the voice based technology, and with which is powered by AI and you know um, powered by AI and ML, going to be the future of this whole customer service.
That's really fascinating. It will be. I must go and read up that study some more. One final call for questions before we end the session today. Anybody has um, a question? Abhishek, you're nodding. So
No
okay.
questions. No questions.
Okay. So I have one final question for you, Nawaz. When it comes to the end user of the enterprise customer, the people on the ground, you mentioned, how you've tried that before, and everything from even verification was happening on the voice. What is your company's point of view on the benefits that are finally flowing into people who are not perhaps that educated, and especially considering your customers, a lot of them are in BSFI, and the benefits of voice-based fintech for them?
So basically, like I was giving you the example of these farmers also, right? There are a lot of these global brands, and they sell across different regions. Right now, you have a situation, you can actually call up your customer care and speak to anyone in any language, and also even the voice bots. For example, I can give you the largest financial service provider in Vietnam is actually our customer, and the entire transaction there happens in Vietnamese. Okay, and even the voice bot, the chat bot that people interact with is is enabled by Unifor, and it is in local language. They're talking in local language. And also, if you look at PNB MetLife, which is our Indian insurance company, they have a product. I mean, they have an app called Kushi. Kushi is also enabled by Unifor, actually. So you can actually speak to that app. It's just like Siri, but it is for an enterprise. So you can speak to that app, and similarly in Vietnam, because I'm giving you example of Vietnam because Vietnamese is a very, very tough language. It's a very tough language when it comes to voice-based technology. It's not easy. Like I said, it's not easy for us to make a machine understand human conversation. And most times, most times you see relationship breaks because of poor communication or lack of it, right? And we all of us somewhere have misunderstanding, and all of it because of our conversations, right? So imagine this, you making a machine understand. So it is tough.
So I have another question for you, Nawaz. I'm just going to read it out. Can AI-based marketing make a difference as we focus on personalized messaging, or making sure we have the human touch?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the whole personalized marketing is something that AI can definitely do. Um, I would say what it helps is, in the past, if you have seen, marketing used to be like always, we used to categorize it as B2B and B2C, and the mass marketing and all of that. But right now, if you look at it, Parul, is B2I, like is business to individual. We all maybe, all communicators here, we all have similar profession, we have all similar, maybe age group or like our experience and all of that. But even then, each one of us are so different in everything that we do, right? The reason Parul buys a certain product is completely different from, like, what someone else is doing. So here, because of this AI, actually we can customize something so personalized to Parul, like based on your taste, based on your, like, past interaction, based on the reasons that you have called our, customer service. You can think of all of those, touch points. It can actually give you something so personalized, and it's just unique to you, right? The offer that you get probably not given to someone else. It's not a mass offer. It is actually personalized to individuals. So it is completely B2I if you actually make use of, technology like AI.
The future of marketing and customer services, B2I, business to individual. I think that's a great note to end the conversation on. I'm just going to share the poll results with the group here. So they're in complete agreement that the future of customer communications post COVID is AI-based customer communication, and the other factor which will be very important is localized AI based voice communication. So these are the two things which strongly resonated with the group. And thank you so much, Nawaz, for your extreme patience and courtesy, and for joining us. I also have a question from Bhavna, your co-speaker. Let me just quickly ask that before we wind up. Bhavna says that she recalls working on a AI chat box which was targeted at young people, and the bot was extremely popular because she was able to have personalized conversations which had an average length of 30 minutes. So she just wanted to share this feedback that she has actually worked on a AI chatbot bot of that
Exactly.
nature.
Exactly. Good to know. Actually, that's the difference between, AI that you use in a business environment versus, a consumer. Which is, like, if you're talking to Siri, everybody can talk to Siri, and Siri is going to give the same answer to everyone, right? But when it comes to a business one, it's actually going to give different answers, depending on what your history is or what question you're asking. It goes back and sees, like, for example, I'm saying, if you ask, a question like, what's your account balance? Now that answer is going to be customized to you, right? It's not a generic answer that a Siri can give. So that's the difference. So it's 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 amazing to see that people are using, and there's a lot more to come.
No, I
Yes.
was just when you said that, when you ask for your account balance, imagine if the same answer goes to everyone.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
So yeah, so this is B2B that way is, the business applications are so customized for everything. And all I can say is that, the future with AI, all of us going to be superheroes, because if you have, AI with you. So that's what I can say. And AI is going to be at home. It's already there. I'm saying AI is going to be just, at home. Like, all of us going to use AI.
Thank you so much, Nawaz. Having said that, I'm quite convinced that my Alexa speaker is out to get me because it has a habit of misbehaving on important calls. I'm pretty convinced there's something going on over there. So thank you for your conversation. Thank you once again, Nawaz, Vandana, Bhavna, Preeti. Thank you for joining us, and a special thank you to all the attendees here. You've been a lovely audience. You've stayed with us throughout these 2 hours, which I know is a lot of time on a Friday evening with the weekend beckoning. So, happy weekend. Stay safe, all of you, and we'll be back with the stories on these next week, and also with the details of your free access pass to the three Amma Chitakata apps. And of course, all the speakers get that access as well. So thank you so much for joining us on this very special, the very first inaugural episode of Friday Zone. Over to Abhishek for his concluding remarks.
No, yeah, thank you so much, Parul. And I mean, let me start off by first thanking you for doing this for us. And we're very glad that we partnered with PR Moment and you and Soumya for all the backend support that she did for this. So thank you so much. And I also want to thank all the speakers today for this wonderful session. It was very, very insightful. And for me, I think the top three takeouts is obviously the fact that if you look at the speakers with Preeti, Vandana, Bhavna, and Nawaz, while there are very diverse industries, but I think they're all unified towards the direction of business to human conversations or business to individual. But I think the humanizing of storytelling is already beginning to happen. And then you might have diverse set of action plans in terms of how you push that story out. I think that's one. And I think second is this whole deep rootedness that we are trying to go back to and think and rethink our purpose story. And relooking at it is, I think, in a COVID environment, post-COVID environment is becoming very, very essential. And I think the third key ask, I think the third big takeout for everybody, for me, was the fact that how the need for localized and personalized messaging in India, you cannot copy paste a messaging to India. You have to localize it to your audience. You have to localize it to the nuances of the nation. Like, for example, what Bhavna spoke about the farmers community, or for that matter, Nawaz spoke about a bank in Tamil Nadu, right? I mean, and how what the work Unifor is doing in Vietnam in terms of localizing content. So I think those are the three big takeouts for me for this, and I'd really like to thank all the speakers and the attendees for joining us. And we'll have another intriguing session in the Friday zone next month.
Thank you. Please look forward to the next Friday Zone next month, and we'll be in touch. And thank you. Any comments, any questions you still have for the speakers, feel free to shoot them to us, and we'll get them answered. Take care and have a great weekend.